Have you ever wondered how quickly you can die in every Fire Emblem game? No? You've never asked this question? I'm sure you thought about this question, you just thought it'd be too stupid to ask how quickly one can get a game over. But don't worry, I've got you covered. You don't need to do any legwork because I've done it all already. This video is going to tell you how quickly you can die in every single Fire Emblem game. Let's get into it. Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon is an interesting one. It's as simple as just discarding your weapon and then shoving Marth out into the front lines and he'll inevitably die. You can take the effort on the next turn to put him even further into the lines and more enemies are able to target him and eventually death comes. Fire Emblem Gaiden is different because this time around you can't throw away your weapon like you can in the first game. It just leads you to having to do the strat of just not attacking first and letting the enemies come to you. Unfortunately though, you can't really do this in the first map, at least not without several hours of RNG shenanigans, because the thieves can only ever do 1 point of damage to you at a time. Whenever they hit you, you'll hit back for twice on the counter damage, which is usually somewhere between 7 to 8 damage, and so you will inevitably kill them all. Yes, you could probably go between 1 to 2 sets of trees and hope that the AI moves the enemy into one of those trees to swing at you, and then hope that the RNG is unlucky enough that you miss both shots. But again, you're asking for something that is potentially possible, theoretically possible, but the amount of time and effort you'd have to go recycling the same map over and over again for RNG to go in your favor to lead into your death is kind of silly when you can move into the next map, which has significantly more enemies and also a ranged enemy that can shoot you without getting counterattack and also do 3 points of damage rather than 1. Though something weird is that the AI for the archer decided to put the archer within range of my unit for some reason. I don't know why. It did not do more damage by doing a point blank shot, but it did it anyway. Fortunately, it only did it once, so the archer unit did not die, but yeah, very strange behavior. Mystery of the Emblem Book 1 is basically Shadow Dragon again. You can throw away your weapon and put yourself into the front lines and then just die pretty easily. Book 2 is basically the same. Again, you throw away your weapon as Marth, put Marth in the front lines and he will inevitably die again. Very simple. Genealogy of the Holy War. Again, we lose the ability to discard our weapon like Gaiden, but unlike Gaiden, the first map has way more than enough enemies, also has multiple ranged units, that it is pretty simple just to take Sigurd out into the front lines on his own and he will inevitably drop dead, especially when you're not initiating any attacks whatsoever, only counter-attacking, as well as the fact that all these enemies actually do more than 1 point of damage whenever they do successfully hit you. Thracia 776 has the ability to discard weapons again, except for the light brand that Leaf has, but it's a fool's errand to discard the iron sword because the life brand has the ability to counterattack at range. So you want to actually equip the iron sword, move into range of these other enemies and let them slowly whittle you down. There's 2 range enemies that are pretty close to the start, and whilst their accuracy is abysmal, they do eventually kill you. Fire Emblem the Binding Blade, again you have the ability to discard your weapon. We know how simple this is. You throw away your weapon, put the main character out in the front lines and watch them die. Pretty simple. Fire Emblem for the GBA, or what is now formerly known as Fire Emblem Blazing Blade, is a little different. Because it's the first Western release of a Fire Emblem game, there's an actual full-on tutorial section at the start of the game, which unfortunately, because of how it's structured, the game does not allow you to do anything outside of what the tutorial is telling you to do. So you can't fail on the first map no matter what you try because you're forced to do the exact things you're told, as well as the second map. At least the first little bit you also can't do the same thing. But once you get shown the tutorial of the Volcany, you then are free to do whatever you want with your units from that point onwards. Also you could discard your weapons from this point as well, meaning that yes, easy way to die. Fire Emblem Sacred Stones immediately drops you into your own devices, and also you can discard items, though if you go discard your weapon it tells you that you can't discard treasure. Though fortunately, regardless of that, this is pretty easy to get a game over as there's 2 axe units right at the start of the map. If you just walk up to them, don't initiate combat and let them hit you, as long as they land their 50-50 hits, you die pretty quickly. Path of Radiance is yet another game to get an easy early game over with, but an interesting thing, you can discard your weapon, but if you do, the game will go off at you telling you how do you think you can fight if you throw away your weapon and give you back your weapon. As you throw away your weapon, how do you expect to fight? Let me help, here you go, like, here's your sword. Oh, thanks. The game's like, what the f are you doing? You need that? but it's as simple as you just let yourself get attacked by the enemy twice, and then when it goes to the second round where the boss spawns in, you just don't heal and they'll kill you. Pretty easy. Radiant Dawn is yet another simple game to get a quick game over in. You simply throw away your magic weapon as Micaiah, put Micaiah in that one step space, and let the enemies just come at you until you die. Pretty simple. Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon for the DS is Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon for the DS, and in saying that, it's basically the same way you die in Shadow Dragon as well. You just walk off to the front lines, throw away your weapons, and bada bing, bada boom, you're dead. Fire Emblem New Mystery of the Emblem is got a bit of a tutorial section at the start where you can't actually let yourself die, though fun fact, you can throw away your weapon. If you did not initiate the first hit with the last enemy, you soft-locked yourself. You legitimately soft-locked yourself. You can throw away your weapon, the game doesn't go off you for doing that, nor does it give you a weapon back, but the enemy there does not attack you until you initiate the attack, which you can't do because you no longer have a weapon. Funny, isn't it? But in Prologue 2, the enemy will initiate attacks on their own accord, so you can throw away your weapon and get an easy death here. Fire Emblem Awakening, you do need to initiate the battle here with the first enemy here, or Valdar, but you don't need to do it with both Chrom and Robin. You can just do it with Robin, and Robin will just inevitably lose the scuffle. Fire Emblem Fates, you can't fail on the first two maps, whether it be the Prologue or Chapter 1, because of just how the game's designed. Prologue is more of a tutorial thing, the game will auto-end and auto-complete after a few turns anyway. Chapter 1, you must be the one initiating battle in order for you to take any form of damage, and even if you don't heal, you'll inevitably do more damage than what you take and win that battle. It's Chapter 2 where you can finally throw Corrin out on their own and have them die very quickly. Echo Shadow Valentia is an interesting one because you can't fail on the first map. Even though you can have every single child killed on the first map, you can't have the main guy killed because he just does too much damage to the enemy units that you don't do enough to him. It doesn't really matter, he will win every single time. But you can have every single child die on classic mode, on max difficulty, and the game don't care. You'll move on to the next map. Otherwise, it kind of follows the same shenanigans as Gaiden did, where the first map you can't really die on. You get a lot closer this time around. I think I got down to 4 health, but unfortunately you can't throw away your weapon, and RNG is kind of what you're relying on in order to lose this fight. I still inevitably win out anyway. The second map of the actual campaign itself you can just die on pretty easily. It takes a bit more time because the enemy is more likely to go after the rest of my units, unlike in Guide where they just focus the main character the entire time. But inevitably you do just die because A, there's a lot of enemies this time around, B, one of them's got a bow, they outrange you all the time. Fire Emblem Three Houses, you can't drop weapons like you've been able to do in past games, though that ability has been kind of inconsistent across the entire franchise, you've probably heard from this video, but you can de-equip weapons, which makes it pretty easy to die in the first map, and considering you don't have any of your time shenanigans, you just die. There is no other option. So if you just take Byleth out to the center where there's a bunch of enemies that can immediately target him, it's bada bing, bada boom, Byleth will die, and that's that. And finally, at this point in time, Fire Emblem Engage. You cannot lose on the prologue purely because even if you do just not attack and not initiate battle, they will still hit you, but your Fire Emblem Engage will charge up to its maximum, and the game will force you to not only engage, but then use the Lodestar Rush, which will just kill every single time, no matter what. So you can't really avoid that one. But in map 2, you can just die by taking Aaliyah straight into the middle of the enemies and just letting them get whacked until they die. Pretty simple. And that is how fast you die in every single Fire Emblem game. Did you learn anything new? I learned that you can A, softlock yourself in various games by just throwing away your weapon, and the game has no idea how to comprehend that. And also the idea that there's clearly someone on the dev team that is having this continuous back and forth on whether you should be able to discard your weapons or not, as it just seemed to be a back and forth between every single game. Some games you can just throw away your weapon, nobody cares. Other games you don't even have the ability to discard weapons. Other games it just considers your weapon a treasure, and sometimes it's just back to you can throw away your weapon without a care in the world, and that's kind of funny. Oh, and then Three Houses, just instead of throwing away your weapon, how about you just de-equip the weapon instead? It's kind of funny, that back and forth, but yeah, that was the video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did like, maybe leave a like down below, maybe subscribe. I don't know, it's a small channel. I just do funny things here with JRPGs. Most of the time, challenge runs. I also stream pretty consistently, but until next time, bye-bye!